Everyone who was tuned in this morning. It's a happy Friday, and I'm super excited that it's the end of the week and we get to enjoy another weekend. We've got, again, also our awesome hosts. We've got Hana and Ryan in the building. How are you guys this morning?
Great. It's been a lovely morning.
Yeah.
Got up bright and early, ready to smash up the day.
I know we're not really morning people, but we're getting there. We're not morning people. It's only 4 weeks. But this morning, joining us this happy Friday, we've got two amazing humans who have done so much in our community. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Introducing our amazing Asiata and Sago, who are both running for local board this year. And we're super excited. Good morning, guys. How are you this morning?
Happy it's Friday.
Happy it's Friday, the end of the week, Pea. So
I know.
Great.
What do you guys normally do on a Friday morning?
Try and wake up as early as possible,
Yeah.
And tackle the day as it comes, knowing full well that it's the last working day of the week. So yeah,
I know. I love Fridays because I get to enjoy Friday evenings.
Absolutely. That's me.
Yeah.
Go home, put on a movie, relax. So this is mine. You guys are very busy people, I'm aware. But emphasis on Pea's amazing. These are two very amazing individuals, and we're so happy to have you on the show.
I can't wait to talk a little bit more about what they are going to do for our community, you know, apart from what they already do. But every morning, you know, we start off with a positive quote because we want you to end your week off on a high, because if you've had a really low week, well, we're here to pick your spirits up. This morning, I'll start with a pretty easy quote, straightforward. My quote this morning is, "The future depends on what you do today." That's my quote this morning. The future depends on what you do today. So, you know, pretty straightforward. Everything that you do in your life today, it's going to affect your future. So I thought this was fitting, especially because we have two of the most amazing people here representing our future. So what we do today, how we, you know, apply certain things in our lives today will affect our future.
Yeah.
So our future right here in front of us.
And I think that's such a good quote because, you know, everyone always thinks of a time or a moment in the future where they're going to feel all that success, but you can feel that every day.
Yeah.
The small things
Yes.
you do every day is more important than that moment in time where you know, get your award or your crying. Got your speech ready, prepared in the mirror and things like that. So what you do every day is much more important than that.
Yeah, no, I agree. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that extends to a act now, don't wait in the future, because if you change what's going wrong now, then you'll reap the benefits in the future.
Love that. Did you guys? Yeah, I love that.
Yes,
Ryan always has this moment. What are your guys' thoughts on? We normally just kind of dissect a little bit and just have our thoughts on a quote.
I quote. Do you want me to quote?
Just on this quote.
On your quote? Yeah. Okay, look. It's like a call to action. You know, that's like a call to action sort of quote. It's like act now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, or pave waves, you know, pave a way forward. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's my thoughts.
yes, absolutely, I agree. Because if you're not moving now, and if you're static and not doing anything, then nothing will happen to generate positive outcomes in the future. So, yes, absolutely, keep moving.
Amen.
Our future.
Amen.
I really like this.
I'm trying to get a click. So.
We'll wait for your quote.
Silence.
We've got who's gonna go up next with another positive quote.
Okay, cool. I got my one here.
Yeah.
I'll just get it out of the way. There's always a blessing in disguise in every situation. Something far greater always comes out of moments that test you. Keep going, keep rising, keep believing.
Oh, yes. So that deserves a double click.
I got two. I'm gonna do the move click.
Yeah, so
I love that.
I guess this one to me is like every time we think something bad's gonna happen, just keep a positive mindset.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's always a lesson to learn. There's always something to pick up around the corner, and don't let it get you down too much. You know. Use it as-
I'm so sorry, Hannah. Can you just repeat that again? Because I kind of like.
oh yeah, sure. There's always a blessing in disguise in every situation. Something far greater always comes out of moments that test you. Keep going, keep rising, keep believing.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
amen.
beautiful.
That,
Yeah.
And it looks
I
like
love
a
that.
whole sermon on just one scene.
Yeah.
Like, honest.
Just need to get you a podium.
No, yeah, I know.
I got my necktie sorted.
Use Asiata's one.
Yeah.
No, I love that because, you know, I think this morning I actually posted up on Instagram how grateful I am because these small movements of, you know, and it's the small blessings that we think, oh, nothing. But those small blessings add up to the bigger blessings that we actually don't see. But I had a really great morning this morning, actually. Yeah.
Oh, well done. Hana, I think that in times of trials and times of tribulation that anyone goes through, the times of sorrow and sadness and anger and everything else that's on the negative side of life. But, you know, we always need to peel it back sometimes because we get so absorbed in those moments that we don't actually peel it back and think, you know, look, there are positives that are always arise. And it's not until after the fact then you think, you know what, actually when I went through that, I learned that, you know, I've become a much more resilient person or I handled that with gusto, you know, handling the jandal, handle the jandal. And it's not about, you know, take a spoonful of concrete and harden up. It's about realizing, look, I've become a much more braver person. I'm more bolder. I have a voice or whatever the situation may be. And when you go through that same situation again, because we go through different chapters again and again in our lives, you realize, look, I learned a lot from what I went through before and I'm ready to tackle this one again.
That's amazing. I think that's great words.
Love
Great
it.
words, yeah.
I'll go ahead with the quote. If you didn't see me frantically scrolling my phone, but I found one, and you can never go wrong. You can never go wrong with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Deeds will not be less valiant because they are unpraised.
Ah,
Amen.
yes.
Everyone.
Amen.
Hands. Shout Lord of the Rings.
That was said by Aragorn.
Yes.
And like, here's me trying to think of an explanation because I just saw it. But just because you aren't given thanks for something that you do
Yes.
doesn't take the value out of that.
Amen.
that
to
Amen.
that. Amen to that,
Amen.
brother.
Oh,
Amen to that, brother.
And I think it's perfect because we've got you two who are huge in the community and you do a lot of unpraised work.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank
But
you.
the value's there.
Yeah, look, thanks, Ryan. Like, because a lot of our people, you know, we serve with our hearts, you know, and sometimes it's not really seen, and sometimes it's never praised, but the work behind it lingers on and it will stay. Like, it sticks. You know, it's an influence on people, and, you know, that's what matters. And, you know, there are other people that like self-praise, but in that quote, man, it brings the essence of our people, who
that
we
is
are.
exactly who we are.
You know, who we are as you know, because we're quite humble people.
Yeah.
You know, in our service. And that's great. Like, I love that quote.
Yeah, and it's one of those quotes, it's one of those quotes that you read when sometimes you feel discouraged because you're not getting praise. And everyone feels like that, you know, like I did so much work, no one cares or no one thinks, and you read it and you're like, you know what, it's not for praise, you know, it's for the good, the purpose behind it. So I think that shot Aragon.
Yeah, I really love
Aragon
that one.
actually. Return
I'm
of
not
the
even going
King.
to try it because what you guys have explained it perfectly, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome and I love it. I mean, we've all been through it. We're only human.
Exactly.
But the value, it remains. I love it.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I'm reminded of the Samoan proverb, "Ole ala ole pule ole tautua," you know, and that's the pathway to leadership is to serve, and to serve with the notion that, look, you're not going to be praised. That's how we all should be serving. You're not serving because you're thinking, oh, I hope someone saw me do this, or let's listen out to the list of praise. My name better be mentioned. You know, that's not why we do that. Because if you are serving because of that purpose, step aside. You're not serving because of our people.
Wrong area.
Wrong.
You know, you're
Wrong
representing.
area,
no deal.
Yeah.
It's serving with the purpose of there's a greater reason why. The why is greater than yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
Amen.
oi ma ua, oi a o ke alu. Savali, and these is a privilege.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a privilege to serve because there are so many people out there that have the time and have the heart to serve, but they don't have the platforms in order to do that.
Exactly.
So we're very blessed and very privileged and thankful that we're having this discussion
Yeah.
around the BluWave table. So
I'm feeling so inspired.
I know, I really love that, Ryan, because I mean, I know recently, I think people was like, oh, you need to thank, I'm like, but why? And you know what? It brings me back to God knows.
Yes.
Yes.
Only God knows
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
brewing in your heart
Exactly.
and how genuine your heart is. So it doesn't, what everyone sees, it doesn't matter. As long as God knows that you're genuine and that nothing else matters.
Perfect.
Hey, perfect.
Guys,
I have a
let's
quote,
stop.
believe it or not. I feel so inspired. Like, because inspiring me to do a quote. No, I do have a quote. And, thank you for the introduction, about community and that, because that's who we are, And the quote, get on with my quote, it says, there is no powerful change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. And, the reason why I chose this quote is because, we come from villages, and not just back home in Samoa, but we've created villages here and, in New Zealand, and we've created communities that, we belong to. The solution lies within our communities. And sometimes, you can't have other people making decisions for our communities outside of our communities. It needs to come from our communities. And, because we care, and our communities care about, our people. So you need to go back to that source, go back to the roots, go back to our communities,
that's right.
to find the solution. So that's why I picked that quote.
Love it.
Absolutely.
And this is going to be probably new.
This is going to be a new thing. Oh my God, this is going to be like a hit.
Is this not a thing already?
I
come
know
on.
they use these a lot at the
Spoken
Vogue.
words.
And
yes.
even at the Vogue thing,
Poetry.
like, you can't clap, you have to click. But I love it that we see culture. It's just great.
Man, what a super powerful morning. Everyone has shared some exceptional quotes this morning. Like, I'm feeling...
Oh, she's got good, yes.
Sorry, Sango's probably going to have the most powerful one this morning. Like,
Mine is actually
Pea,
short
I
and
got my
sleepy.
Yeah.
I have a quote. She probably, you, because you're very of the younger generation, we're of the older generation, but there is a supermodel, her name is Rachel Hunter, and when she paved the way for all the models of New Zealand, she came out with her ad in the trumpet ad and a Pantene hair ad, and the catchphrase for her Pantene hair product ad was, it won't happen overnight, but it will happen. So I actually just remembered that because there have been times throughout my life where I've always thought, why isn't that happening already? Like, it's well overdue. It's taking too long, and it's a real patience issue. So I look at myself in the mirror and I think to myself, it won't happen overnight, but it will happen. You have to.
But it will happen.
but it will happen.
It's not about my hair.
That's
but
such
yes.
a beautiful quote
It
because
is.
you can really then start to differentiate who's real about it and who isn't. Because people who are real about it know things don't happen overnight. You can't build millions and millions of viewers in like 2 days, or like you can't get your dream body in like overnight unless you have surgery or something. But perfect.
I love
it really
that.
identifies people who are striving to get some good things done.
You
And
gotta keep
I
at it.
would like to add, Rachel Hunter was stunning.
Yeah.
And her hair and Pantene shampoo is good. Just, this is not a plug in for Pantene, it's just...
Are you being sponsored?
Thank you, Bear Hunter.
But, I love that because I think we've had a few dates with someone who has... I'm going to mention how she's helped me during some really, really hard times. And, someone was not one for me. She didn't want me to post or anything. And she's just, don't be like that. But, during that time, we were talking about the journeys and how she's had to be patient through this long period of time. She felt was long, but for me, I'm just like, but man, you've built all these little, stepping stones, and It's not overnight, but it's happening. It's now happening, and and you know what? And I'm blessed to be able to witness this unfolding now while I'm still young and not 80. So I'm gonna be alive at 80.
We're all going to be alive at 80. I'll push your wheelchair and you can push mine.
But no, I love that, and I love Retro Hunter too. But this morning, man, far out. Some power in the room. It's been powerful. But we're going to go into a quick music break. Hopefully we can find a Stan Walker bigger that cover right up next. Stay tuned. Woo!
Itipu mai au I te whārua Aha koa te aha mukore Kia whakarono mai ki au I kore ana Ka whakaro ake he aha te aha E kore noa e tahi e rereke Kia maki o paita apiti Aha ko te kokei E mananui tō te aki Hei aha te whakaru I tiro ki tua rae Whakarono ki nā wai o roto e Ke wehi te wehe nai toa wā Tiro ki tua E koro tuiro to pākoro yeah. Kia mai au e korerere yeah. I mohi o e no atura Tōku ora nai na te hiraira E ora nā kau ke tuara Ki tuara Ako te kokei He mananui tō te aki Hei aha te whakaru I tiro ki tua Yeah Ki tua Tiro ki tua
Whakarongo ki nā wai o roto e Ke wahi te wehe nai toa wā Tiro ki tua
Good morning and welcome back to our Pacific Morning Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you are getting to work safely. We hope you have dropped the kids off and the roads haven't been too harsh on you. But today, on today's show, we have two very special guests who are running for the Manurewa in South Auckland Local Board, Gadiel and Sago. And we are so happy to have them because we have a lot of questions. And we have not even only on our behalf, but for the behalf of community. So most of us here are born and raised in South Auckland. So yeah, we're very excited to have this conversation with you both. But maybe a lot of people who are watching this don't even understand the importance of local board. What is it? Why do we need to vote? So I thought I'd just give you the opportunity to kind of like peel it back for us.
Cool.
What is the local board? What influences it? How important is it?
Cool, thank you, Hana. Great question, because people get local board mixed up with the general election, and what they do, the two, and this is to differentiate the difference. So local, it's about the local issues. So we focus on not only the local issues, it's the activities that happen in Manurewa, peel it back a little bit more just so that everyone understands. So it's about your rubbish collection. It's about the pools. It's about the swimming pools. It's about the recreation. It's about the roads that we use. It's about the transport that was there, liquor stores. So in Manurewa, we have I think we've probably got the record of humps that are there on the roads.
Right.
You know, so they put those things in place. You know, not that we wanted humps in Manurewa, but
Yeah, we got a lot of mangry as well.
yeah. But I guess the biggest part of that, yes, I've just mentioned all that, but I guess the biggest part of it is the consultation part of it. The local board is designed to have consultation with community for all these to happen. So that's, in a nutshell, like really, really simple. That's what a local board is. It's nothing to do with police. It's nothing to do, yes, we do work in collaboration with them, but we can't influence what the police is because that's big policy. That is the general election stuff.
Right.
You
That's
know,
the big, like, national party.
Yeah.
Everyone.
So, you know,
party. Yeah.
yeah, so that's all that big policy stuff. That's nothing to do with it. Like, we will work in collaboration with them, but we can't change law.
Right.
There are some laws we can change, but I'm not going to get into that. It's bylaws. Okay, we can put bylaws in place, but I won't get into that. It's a bit fluffy.
Yeah.
Listeners will get bored with that. So, but I'll hand it over to Sango.
Yeah,
We'll probably elaborate on what a local board is.
So the makeup of our current local board in Manurewa, is basically 8 people are elected every 3 years, as all other 21 local boards here in Auckland. So there are 8 people that are responsible to ensure the betterment of our community.
Right.
It's how Manurewa community will live. It is up to these 8 people who are responsible on how. And how it can actually work for our people is, as Gadiel has already mentioned, is in cohesion and collaboration with them. We need community involvement. These 8 people should not be off the cuff of their own brain thinking, you know what, this is what our community needs. These 8 people are responsible to go, hello, how can we help you? What do you want? What do you need? And that is not only to our tupulanga, our youth, but also for our elderly, for all the many pockets of Pasifika that have been living there for over 30, 40 years, our Māori, everyone, no one left behind. And that is the importance of local board, responsible for what happens in our own backyards.
Yeah, and I think just hearing you guys talk, this sounds like a huge responsibility. It can't be someone who just is not connected with any community. It needs to be someone who is constantly, just hearing from that explanation, you need to be involved. You need to know, people need to know you, you know? And I know you guys, I've seen you guys a lot with our vaccination events, with our own business. We've seen you guys in the community space. And like, how important is this person who gets voted in? Like, you guys have already explained it, but you're talking money, right? You're talking decisions on money. Because just sharing one experience in Mangele, other than Mangele all my life, born and raised. Then we saw bike lanes out of nowhere that no one uses. People would be parked their cars there, or people crash into them. So the consultation part you guys were talking about is super important.
Yes.
So if we got like 8 people on there who don't know the community or, you know, the people, we're going to have bike lanes.
Absolutely correct.
I want to elaborate on just what you just said there, the consultation period, part of it. Now, COVID was a pure example of a system that never worked for our people.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the communities came out to do this, to do the job wasn't done. You know, so, and if you flip that into like the context of a local board, I mean, most current local boards have a meeting once a month. Do our people go? Will our people go? No. See, we need to flip it. We need to go back to our communities to get the proper consultation. You can't sit there, wait for people to come because you'll get the same people and you get the same results. And the results are you'll get humps that no one asked for.
And cycle lanes that nobody asked for.
You know, that no one asked for. So it's going to the communities that you are connected with. You hit it right. It's about, you know, belonging to a community.
Yeah.
And being inclusive of the whole community. And you need to, that's proper consultation.
Yeah, exactly.
That is proper consultation, is going to communities and actually asking them, what do you want?
Yeah.
Where do you want this money to be spent?
And you've hit it on the nail, Hana. And it would, look, being on the local board is a privilege. It's an absolute privilege. But unfortunately, we do have people currently there that are not connected with the community and do not consult and do exactly as we have already discussed. And so they are making up their own minds thinking this is for the people.
Yeah.
And it's not for the people, it's for themselves.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch into that a bit because, you guys are running. You know how this has been going on for a long time. The 8 people who are currently on there, how's that been for Rewa? Rewa's hard. Born and raised in South Auckland, we all rip our hoods super hard. How have the 8 people in Rewa have they been effective?
Very good question. So the current makeup of Manurewa, as we know, Rewa hard. There are 37% Pasifika that live there. And on the 8 people panel of the Manurewa Local Board, there is no Pasifika representation at all.
Okay.
That's an atrocity because that means that 37% of our people's voices, our community's voices, are not being heard, are not actually represented on that table. So that's why we have people there saying, hey, I've done this for the Pacific, this is for the Pacific, this will benefit the Pacific. No,
Yeah.
because you haven't consulted with us. Or they do go and consult with the very few and say that this is for the 37%. And no, that's just not good enough. So that's why we are very determined and we're very passionate because we've lived there such a long time.
Yeah.
We've raised our children there. We have our community pockets in there. For everyone, we all need to be heard. We all need to be represented. We're the marginalised and the vulnerable. And look, we've paid our taxes. We are paying our taxes, paying our rates. And it's time for us to represent the key people. We're the key stakeholders in Manurewa, our Pacifica Māori. And so we want to make sure that we are represented on that table and genuinely represented.
I do have a question just going back to the board because I've lived in Manurewa for approximately around, I think, 14 years. I've lived there and like I mentioned earlier, there hasn't been any sound from the local board. I knew it existed, but where do I go? When are these meetings held? I have no idea. But let's talk a little bit about how this will impact it. We've spoken about money. Our Pasifika people, I'm not going to lie, as soon as we mention any kind of money or contribution that's going to help make our community better, can you give us an approximate figure on how much money Manurewa will be, allocated to the local Manurewa, region?
Right, so the Manurewa Local Board are responsible for the funding that comes from council. So there is funding that comes from council for all 21 local boards. Unfortunately, Manurewa is on the lower spectrum in regards to the funding received. So that's still up to these 8 people on how that money will be divided. So, for example, if a community initiative or group in Manurewa wants to hold an event, easiest way of explaining, and they would apply to the local board for that funding. It's still up to these 8 people to decide, hey, they've applied for this much, but hey, we'll just give them this much. Or let's just decline it. And at the moment, it's not a fair process. There have been career politicians on the Manurewa Local Board that have been there for far too long. And we're talking 18, 21 years that need to really step aside and let the fresh, new, innovative, progressive leaders of Manurewa to come onto those seats and actually ensure that all people are fairly treated with just purpose because we're all there for the betterment of our community, genuinely.
Yeah, and sorry.
No. Look, to your question, your actual question that you actually asked about the current local board and what have they done, quite frankly, nothing.
Yeah.
That's just hitting at nothing. There are little pockets that they will try and influence to say that they've done this and this, but absolutely nothing, and if it is, it's been filtered to people
that are in their pockets.
Exactly.
And this is just to secure a vote for the next time. To be honest, in leadership roles, if we are successful, we don't see ourselves in these seats for 5 years, no longer.
No.
Because it's not about that, because the world is ever changing and you need to adapt to the change. We are, if we are successful, we're only paving waves for our next generation of, youth, that are coming through, leaders, because we have some awesome young leaders out there and spaces that they can change. And, we can't, we like to think that we're young and know what the young know, but we're not going to be that voice for the young. The young have to come up and do it themselves. So these incumbents have been there far too long and change needs to happen.
And I absolutely love the way that you frame that, because you're actually understanding that it requires a certain humility to not be in there for like 18 years. And
That's
to
a
understand
long
that
time.
times to understand that times
not
are
a
changing
career.
and mindsets are changing, understanding audiences are changing, and you need to pass that on, paving that pathway, which you mentioned. But you did say local board does have an influence on liquor stores, right?
Yes.
So the last
Absolutely.
18 years, all I've seen is liquor stores increasing in Southside,
Yeah.
even in Manurewa.
Mm.
In Mangele, I used to go to Southern Cross, which is in Mangere, and there was 2 liquor stores when I was 5, when I started year 1. Now there's one in like every side corner of the street. And it's very sad. It's very, very sad. And to hear that there are local board members in Manurewa who've been there for 18 years and this is increasing, which is a huge problem in our community. What you guys are running, you guys are going there. What are your guys' plans for that?
Because it's an absolute atrocity what is happening in Manurewa. When I say central Manurewa, and for those that are in the know, it's from Great South to Roscommon. I live right in the heartbeat in Lee Bank, and I can travel to 10 different liquor stores within 5 minutes. It's not good enough. And 7 of them are either on or around the corner from local primary schools.
Exactly.
I feel sorry. How are we supposed to break the cycle? We know what cycle this is because our children are being raised in this. Our children are getting picked up from school and driving past these liquor stores, and it's not positive behaviour that are outside there. The enormous amount of rubbish that's always out there it's hurting our families more. If you dangle a carrot in front of a donkey, what's the donkey going to do?
Exactly.
So let's get rid of these liquor stores. We want to prevent further liquor stores in Manurewa, but at the same time, these liquor stores need to be regulated. Yes, they are business owners that have been in Manurewa for a long time, but look, they need to also understand with the dialogue and, collaborating with them, that surely they do not need to be open 11, 12 hours a day. Surely they can be closed within that hour and a half or an hour when the children are getting picked up after school. Surely they realise that they have children too, and their children obviously may or may not go to Manurewa schools, but we need to be proud of Manurewa and having that sense that the kids can drive past, just like the ones that are getting driven past their schools in Remuera. What's good in Remuera is good for Manurewa. And so why are our children having to suffer?
Amen.
We need to
Amen.
control
I
it.
love that.
Wow, lots of clicks this morning.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's absolutely beautiful, because
Yeah.
I literally used to walk to school and the liquor store was upstairs. And it got to a point where I was like, oh, it's just normal. And we would run up and down the stairs just to be cheeky, because they would like kick the little kids. And I'd be like, the store isn't kids here, let's go back down. But I've been to areas like Shakespeare, Silverdale.
Yes.
You can't even find a liquor store until you drive somewhere. Even fast food stores.
Yes.
Like,
Thank you.
I haven't seen a McDonald's.
Yes.
You see farmers markets, you see countdowns, new roads. Can't see any of that. So I'm really hoping to see that change.
Just touching on that, Hana, how you've just alluded to the takeaway stores. There was a recent, in 2019, a report that was brought out that 58% of children in counties Manukau are actually classified as healthy. And so that means, obviously, that 42% are in the obesity margin. And look, we're not doing ourselves any favours. And Manurewa is suffering, not only Manurewa, but all of South Auckland, affected with this whole takeaway of fast foods with hot chips, fried chicken. There is just as many fried chicken and hot chip stands, shops in Manurewa as there are liquor stores. There is no healthiness at all. In fact, if it wasn't for COVID and the lockdowns that happened, in Cleandon itself, they were about to open another 12, a fast food outlet, food court inside there. Hopefully the windows are still blocked, so hopefully it doesn't open ever.
Right.
But can you imagine we're adding more salt to the wound?
Exactly.
And who are the people that are suffering? Again, it's our people. We live in Cleandon. We live in central Manurewa. So there's only one Subway in Manurewa. There is a sushi place that is in Southmore. And aside from that, there's a Vietnamese restaurant. And then... Yeah, wangakali inga, you know. Everything else is takeaway,
Yeah.
takeaway,
And everything
takeaway.
is cheap.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it's, you know,
I mean-
they cater to the audience. And
Where
we're
else
sick
do
of
you
it.
Yeah.
find McDonald's in Southmore, and then you just drive down Weymouth Road, and again there's another McDonald's.
For sure.
And there's a McDonald's in Southmore, and across the road. Oh, if you don't feel like your fillet of fish combo, you can jump across the road and get yourself
Yeah.
some KFC.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on this road, Cavendish, there's 2 McDonald's. So
Yeah.
sometimes when I visit and the line's full, I go to the other.
That's right.
Definitely. Because our people are of convenience.
Yeah.
You know, and we need to just start breaking that narrative. I live next door to a liquor store.
Yeah.
You know, I have nephews and nieces that live with us that we don't tell them to go to shop anymore.
Yeah.
Because they're walking past this, you know, it's disgusting. You know, because you got people lurking around those areas.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's, you know, and they're not probably like the most safest people to be around.
That's right.
You know, because they're drunk and, you know, and it doesn't send positive messages to Manurewa.
No.
We want a Manurewa that we love, and, you know, because we do love Manurewa. We want to celebrate. I know we're talking about the negative stuff about it, but we want to also celebrate our diversity, our culture, because it is about
It's a
celebrating.
beautiful
It's a beautiful
place.
place. Yeah.
It is. You know, I love Manurewa. I went to school there, like primary, intermediate, high school.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, alcohol stores, yes, we do love glass, but look, it doesn't, if you can go another kilometre down to the main centre to get it, then fine.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
yeah, I'm going to go on that because I can't, like, my parents were not allowed my 10-year-old to walk home from school. And, like, literally, like, it's not even far to walk from her school to my house. But we're constantly, like, you know, I'm a working mum, and I can't always drop everything and go. You know, and how am I going to pay my bills when every time I have to, because I'm worried that she has to walk past
the liquor store.
this liquor store with these drunk people who are unemployed, who need to find a job, because there seems to work out there as well. But, you know, it's not safe.
Yeah.
It's not safe. And it's because they're drinking at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm sitting here going, is my daughter going to be okay? Is, you know, she's going to walk past this liquor store, and I mean, there's nothing wrong, but it's not safe. Like, you know?
And unfortunately, it's the trauma behind it all. There are a lot of people, as there are in other communities as well, that are hurting and that do fall onto recreational activities, alcohol, drugs, whatever the likes is, to find solace and find comfort in. And unfortunately, it's the disconnectedness that is currently happening in Manurewa. We envisage a Manurewa that is safe, that we can build and connect with all different pockets of Manurewa. Look, we're not going to label anybody. Everyone goes through different patches in their lives, but it's finding a safe space so we can actually connect with them and have that conversation. And maybe we can help them the same way that they can help us and give us better understanding of why they are leading that current lifestyle. So yes, Manurewa Local Board has so many opportunities. We are already working within our communities, but we would love the opportunity to actually be in those seats that can influence good change and be able to make decisions with our people and to ensure a safer, sustainable and more secure future for our children. You know, if we want our children to be raised in Manurewa where they can say, you know what, I'm proud to live in Manurewa, instead of saying, we were hard. And then there's the whole giggle, grin.
That's literally what I just did.
But that's great.
Yeah.
But, you know, to actually genuinely put your head up high and go, I live in Manurewa. Have you seen the changes that have happened? Look at what we've managed to do the last 2-3 years.
Being proud of different things. And I think what you said is so beautiful, because I'm a true believer in people are products of their environment, but you don't have to be a victim to it. You know what I mean? So I'm so glad that you guys are out there putting encouraging messages that regardless of the harsh environments that we may be brought up in, we can always change.
Yes.
We can always adapt new mindsets and things like that. But I wanted to get into your thoughts. I know you guys don't have much influence on crime and police, but what are your thoughts on, you know, we're seeing it a lot in the news. Gangs, the 401s, mongrel mob, Comancheros, a lot of youth are getting involved. By the way, they do not only work, they're not only just running for local, but they do huge work in the community. So what are your guys' thoughts on that at the moment?
Oh, look, again, it's about engaging. It's about connecting with our youth. The youth are our leaders of today. I hear too many times. In fact, I was at a Meet the Candidates event last night in Papakura, where I spoke for the first time because I'm running for council, and our two current councillors were present, and they actually always stated that our youth are the future leaders of tomorrow. No, they're not. They're our leaders of today. They're our leaders, and give them and acknowledge the fact that there are absolute fearless leaders already in our youth space. 25% of Manurewa is under 15, and it's the same makeup also in Papakura. We have such a very young ward, but there's so much leadership already growing in that space. I think that we need, the older people need to sit down with the younger people and actually hear them out and engage with them. It's because, look, disconnectedness at home, disconnectedness with their churches, with whatever communities they're currently in. Maybe they're not in a community at all. Maybe they don't have a home that they can call home. Young people, just like older people, just want to feel appreciated.
Yes.
And want to feel loved.
And a belonging somewhere.
Yes. And not just Sago, like, this, that Samoan proverb, e whawhore ala mea le ala mea. The solutions are here. We just need to know the mechanisms to tap into it, and being on the local board and a voice of influence and connection to all different types, because it doesn't just lie with a cohort of people.
Right.
It takes a village to sort of, to fix this. And if we go back to our village, the village life back home in Samoa, it does take a village to raise someone, but it also takes a village to fix something.
Right.
And we need to go back to that. And if it means to take a cultural lens at it, but a New Zealand-born way of sort of looking at things, because, we're our own culture here, I think.
Yes, we are.
We're our own Samoan culture here. But we need to take those different approaches. There are some organisations, there are some actually community groups currently in Manurewa right now that I work with alongside, Whareira Langa. Hi, Benina, I hope you're watching this interview.
Hi, Benina.
But Benina was a school teacher. So she's well connected to all these kids that are coming into this sort of stuff. And she has that motherly walk about herself.
She does, doesn't she?
Yeah, and so, wait, boom, and I could be a gang member. Yeah. But she has that influence. And these are the people in our communities that need to come together to fix this problem.
Right.
It is about sense of belonging. There are different ways of why it started, why they did, because it's a why. It's a why people go, and it's because they want that sense of belonging here. But if we come together and fix, and meaningful dialogue, it's not just saying it. We're just cheap, man. It's time for action.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, I said that word action.
Act now. Like David Seymour, my sister.
Like, no, it is. And it's not waiting. There are pockets of money there.
Yes.
Government. And it needs to go to the right. They can't be going to these big agencies. These big agencies all get swallowed up. And just to be just enough of thought. But we need some, at local grassroots levels. This is what the local board is. It's grassroots.
Yeah.
We need to go back to the roots. So yes.
Yeah. No, I've absolutely loved this conversation. But we're going to go into a quick break. But I really wanted to we've had a lot of discussions with other guests on the show about identity, connection to the church, to the communities. And I wanted to get into that, especially because Gadiel is a New Zealand-born Samoan. I'm New Zealand-born Samoan, and I've had a lot of issues growing up, but we'll save that for another time.
We'll save that for
another episode.
Yeah, another episode. But I really wanted to talk to you both about, that disconnection, and to avoid, youth going into gangs. It's about giving them a sense of belonging. It's about family, it's about ainga. So we want to get some tips from you guys on how we could more effectively do that and engage as a community. So right after the song break, we'll be right back. And good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back to our Good Morning Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you're having a great morning. We have amazing guests today who are giving us very educational insight on local board in our Southside area, specifically Manurewa. So we've talked a lot about our communities, how important it is to find a sense of belonging, and how important consultation is with our communities to make changes. So I wanted to ask you guys a question because we've had a lot of discussions with guests on the show who have talked about the disconnection of, Talavol and the church, or even with youth and their parents, the language barriers, the lack of understanding. And a lot of youth have suffered. They've gained a lot of trauma through trying to connect and engage or being forced to connect or engage with their parents or the church. And it's hurt them. It's affected the way they operate in society. And I just wanted, Gadiel is New Zealand born, very active in the church. He's a really good example in our community. He can speak Samoan as well, which I know is a problem a lot of diaspora face. But it's not a bad thing. We always can encourage our youth to learn. But what do you guys think about that?
Cool. Well, I'm just going to go back to when my parents came to New Zealand. So Mum and Dad came to New Zealand back in the 60s. you know, and when they came, they were the plant seeders that actually planted these churches. You know, they were founding members of, you know, we both come from Feagaiga, and, you know, they planted seeds here in terms of the spiritual sense, and because in the sense of that's their community. You know, they built these churches, not just a place of worship, but a place of belonging. This was the village,
Safe space.
you know, and their safe spaces. Fast track it. I mean, you know, and to be honest, our parents poured so much money into this, these buildings, you know, and you know, if you fast track it now, no, hang on, let me go back. Last year, this year we had a camp. We had a camp this year with our tupulanga, Manurewa tupulanga, and it was all around the mental well-being. And it was funded by the Letoa program. Dr. Fuimono Carl Enderman, he ran that. He gave us that space to sort of like have a camp. Because without any stats, you can't really prove anything.
Right.
And we had families, we had tupulanga there, and they touched on this very topic about church. You know, and this is tupulanga now. You know, and I had to sit there because I'm a leader in church, and I sort of sat in another room, but I heard the conversation, and it was really cutting for me, like, you know, because the truths come out of it.
What was that conversation like?
Like, you know, it was like things like, I don't go to church because it's a money thing. I feel so disconnected from church, you know, or, you know, because it's an obligation. I feel forced. You know, I don't want to go. You know, but when people ask what denomination do you belong to, they quote the churches that they belong to. So there is that sort of belonging there, but the disconnection is not there. There's a disconnection.
Exactly.
But, you know, hearing these real, man, it got me in tears, but it gave me that opportunity because it does. Because what's broken, it gives you that opportunity to fix something. So we're in a season right now in terms of actually trying to mend the Vaai. To mend the Vaai. And part of it is because there's a language barrier there. Because our tupulanga don't understand the Samoan language, of course, you know, to that level, you know. And there's also a disconnect, even with the Samoan culture itself, to be honest. You know, the Samoan culture as we saw 10 years ago, it's different today. We've come we're more smarter. You know, we're not having I'm actually a Matai, by the way.
Amazing.
Yeah. You know, a New Zealand born Matai, and, you know, I hold that quite humbly, but I've used my Matai to sort of ease the burden.
Right.
So to speak, within my own family. Yeah, you know, thank you guys, click, click, click. But in saying that, you know, in my generation, I'm the youngest, like out of all my first cousins.
Wow.
But to have them, you know, have that respect, you know, I take that, you know, with humility, but also to try and ease the burden. So, you know, instead of doing like family contributions, like, you know, like I belong, you know, my father and mother, they're that sort of kids, you know, $1,000 each, you know, each family will split their responsibility because some families only come from only two people in their family. So that $1,000 is not the same as mine, you know. So we've actually learned how to spread that, you know, so that everybody has a contribution. So $100 is not going to do a dent in your bank, is it?
Yeah.
So, but it would amount to the same thing.
Right.
Right. So, so I hope I asked you a question. I know we sort of went off topic, but yeah, that's just, but what we're trying to do now is to make our culture relevant.
Yes.
You know, and make that connection, come back to the culture, because our culture is a beautiful culture. It's about love.
Absolutely. We had this discussion with one of our guests earlier, and he broke down whaalavelavas. Beautiful practice. We don't see Western cultures do this. Coming around the village, coming around to really support a family who needs help. And I think the problem that a lot of the diaspora was having was not understanding what that system actually meant. And that's a lot what you were saying, Gadiel. Like, we have a lot of issues with youth coming forward saying, I don't feel connected. It's too much, taking too much of my money. Or I feel left out in certain areas of the church. But how do you reckon we could improve that relationship between culture, church, and youth?
Okay, it all comes into understanding it.
Yeah.
So last week, a pure example, we had the Taulanga Talalele last week. We had to celebrate the good news, you know, the coming of the good news. They came to Samoa 1830. So, you know, Feagaiga, as we both belong to, we celebrate that. But there also comes a monetary gift towards it. There's a taulanga. And when our kids, when the kids hear taulanga, it's so switched off.
Yeah.
Automatic.
Yeah.
But actually understand what the taulanga was there. So our minister, New Zealand, he's actually New Zealand born too.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And just letting the tupulanga know, this is where your money goes. This is where your parents' money goes. It goes to it's to finance all the missionaries that go all around the world.
Exactly.
And actually gave a slideshow of these are the people. It actually helps them sort of like, because when you go to Zambia, you can't go for no money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our missionaries actually go to Zambia.
Yeah.
And it's quite an unsafe place, to be honest. Like it's quite unsafe there, but it's to fund out. It's to spread the good news.
Yeah.
And our tupulanga, they're like, oh, that's where our money goes.
Yeah.
And they happily do it. Like what we're trying to do right now is, it needs to connect, because our parents aren't going to be there forever.
Yeah. Exactly.
We are the next generation. And it's trying to bring that so it doesn't actually burden the next lot.
Right.
I find that I'm the connector between tupulanga and tangata matutua and the spaces that I work in.
Yeah.
And it's striking that balance so that we do. Because what a waste of money having all these churches if it's going to be empty in the next 10 years or 20 years.
Exactly, yeah.
So, our parents have actually identified, yes, there is a gap.
Yeah.
There is a gap, and I can't speak for all parents, but only in the space that I work in. And I really want to bring that lens on so that, we can maintain our culture.
Absolutely.
I really, because I've seen the change, because,
Yes.
family.
Your better half?
Yes, they have attended, the church that Gadiel attends. And I'm telling you, like, the first time I was like, I'm not taking my kids there. I was traumatized. And I said, there's no way. And they're like, it's just part of, ifakasa, the way that they run the church. And I was sitting there and I was listening to these big amounts being announced in church, and I switched off. And it wasn't just that, it was just how they handled children. They had to learn, it was just how they did things in ifakasa compared to how we were raised in a Presbyterian. Now, I'm watching their new minister engage so well, and I mean so well, to the youth and to the tupulanga, and being so respectful to the elders of their church as well, finding that balance. Man, these children are loving church. I'm like watching, man, I want to attend this church, because now Gadiel's given an explanation. He's given a breakdown on where the kupe is going on. And I think that's amazing. And I've seen how active this minister is in church, that he's made changes on how he approaches and providing a solution for our tupulanga. Honestly, you see so much joy in these, kids' faces, the tupulanga, when you're strolling. Yes. And I follow him now.
He's a TikToker. He's
Yes.
got a following. So.
That's
he's
awesome.
got a massive following. TikTok, and the way he... it's just the way he adapts. Like, I'm watching him doing his launga, and he's very proper, speaks well. Yeah. And then you see him doing these TikTok with the kids in pajamas. I love that. And I know that even then, that is still a bit of a disconnection as well, because I know that other churches still cannot find this acceptable. Right. They're like,
I think that what both Gadiel and Pea have spoken about is really true. It's honest and it's relevant, because in order for our youth to actually feel comfortable in these spaces of church within our Samoan culture, it's all about listening, for us older ones to listen, to actually sit down and listen and understand the needs of what our youth want, and the needs that whatever the topic is to actually have that genuine heart to listen and actually find a way to help them, because they're never... I'm a mother of 6. My youngest is 12, my eldest is 25. As a parent, you can fuck on with them all you want, but it's up to them And you can, because I have 6, the same way that I treat my eldest, I wouldn't necessarily raise my second because they're all different.
Yeah.
And you realise there are different ways that you can connect with people. And that's the same as our youth as a collective. What works for one person in your youth group may not work for the other. So it's about sitting down and actually talking to them and genuinely giving them that space that they feel safe enough to share with us. And half the times that's the uncomfortable conversation from our youth, that they feel that their words are not valued, that if they do share, well, what are you going to do about it? So we need to, as older, we need to listen. We need to stop saying to them, well, this is what we're going to do. No, the youth are already leaders in themselves. So gone are the days, for example, where we would say, okay, we've got a whaevingalia or a skit that we need to learn. And the elders go and write up the whole skit or create the song. Now we say to them, hey, this is the platform, you guys do what you want.
Right.
And you can see the difference when they create their own space.
Yeah.
You can see the genuine spiritual uplifting that they bring, and how they can share it with their hearts. And you can see the eyes glowing with the audience of youth. And okay, some of our elders are sitting there going, oh, what is that? But it's because it's not about us.
Right.
You know, it's about them connecting with each other. And only through youth can engage with other youth. And you can see them afterwards, they're all outside mixed up because we all wear different uniforms. And they're like, man, that was awesome. I did that. That was so cool. That's what we're about. That's what church is about. Church is about a different sense of community, yes, spiritually connected, but being safe that you can actually not just stay in your own pocket, in your own e whakasa or your own whatever denomination you are, but being able to connect and migrate towards other villages, other communities, and then growing the mothership. So then we can make sure and look after each other.
You know, last year with COVID, so Samoa Manurewa Tutufatasi was an initiative that came out from one of the ministers out there. And I was just being Feagaiga on Facebook, to be honest. Because there was a plug out that said,
honesty.
well, yeah, like there was a plug out that came out last year, like all community leaders in Manurewa jump on the Zoom. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to jump on. I feel that I'm a leader, so I'm going to jump onto this. But, you know, back then, because we were still trying to navigate our way through, like, Zooms and, like, how the hell do you do this thing?
Yeah.
But I knew how to switch my camera off because I was just wanted to be a Feagaiga. So I jumped on the Zoom and then, oh, my God, I forgot to block my name. And I didn't know how to block my name, but my name was still sitting. I'm like, you know, one job, guys, one job. And then I looked at the Zoom and then I'm like, I think I'm on the wrong Zoom because all I saw were FFLs on there. And that's quite intimidating.
Yes.
It's really intimidating when you go into a Zoom and because FFLs has just got that natural title that I'm a leader.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting on the Zoom and then one of the FFLs, I was just about to click the leave button. And then one of the FFLs goes, we say my look, and I'm like,
busted.
And then, oops, turn the camera on. We my look, like, you know. And so I'm listening to this talanoa that they're having, and you know, the 50 hours are like going, yeah, no, you know, blah, 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 this, you know, but it's just all talk, And I'm like sitting there going, oh, goodness. And then they go, wait, Gadiel, yeah, whai la sama ngaku, like, you know, what do you think? I said, you know, to be really, really nice, and these FFLs know, it's up the guts.
Yeah.
No pussyfooting around with my words, just that.
Yeah.
Well, hey, guys, it's all cheap. The talk is all cheap because you obviously aren't going to do the job.
Yeah.
Hey, there needs to be someone that needs to, because you FFLs just like to sit there and just, you know, do your orders, but really you guys aren't going to do the ngaruenga.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, I was like, you know, there needs to be a working community, committee to do this. But anyway, I've got to go on another Zoom. Clicked off the Zoom. I got a phone call the following day. Like, can you be a part of this working community to bring this together?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so he brought us on. He brought me on. And then this is where I met Benina.
Right, yeah.
And this is the beauty of building relationships with people. And I met Benina through this. And I was like, I saw that chick on, you know, on that Zoom. Me and Benina were the only other community leaders in, you know, in this committee, working committee, and 3 other FFLs. And they're like, and honestly, the dauntingest task, we just met in this morning on a Zoom. And they go, yeah, Gadiel, yeah, you can share our meeting. And I'm like, because you almost feel like, I'm going to tell these 50 else what to do now. Like, you know, I'm going to stop shooting the dreams. But at the same time, because it's us being someone, be really wha'aloalo.
Yes.
Be really respectful.
Yeah.
But then I thought, Gadiel, take that off. We're here to do a job. Let's do the job. I'm telling the story because right at the outset, we thought the cohort of people that needed to be vaccinated were actually youth in Manurewa. And we're like, and then I said to these guys, I ain't youth.
Yeah.
We need youth to drive this. So on our initial, I said, you are the 50 hours, you have the youth, make them come on a Zoom and I'm just going to talk to them. And so all the youth, like there was about 38 youth that jumped on this first Zoom. And all I told them was, this is yours, make it work.
Run it.
And you know, the youth were like, are you sure? I was like, you tell us what you need. Tell us what the resources. If it's and honestly, youth, they moved because we only had a window of 7 days to make the first vaccination happen.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I was like, the way they moved, and I'm like going, I can't keep up with you guys. You know, the first question said, what platforms are you using to get this? And I'm like, Facebook. And
They're probably like, he's old.
honest. Like, they were like, oh, our parents use that to watch Fast and and they're like, oh no, we do Instagram. I was like, let me just download the app. But you know how fast they moved. So they did a social media team. We had a promo team. We had an admin team. Like we had all these teams. They did it. I didn't. I left it to them. But you give them the space and they make it work.
Yes.
So we had they gave us a target number. They gave us a target number of 500 vaccinations. They're like, okay. And they sort of laughed because this was I
remember that.
And I'm going to wear this. We were the first community vaccination that we did, driven by the community. It wasn't driven by health providers. It was driven by the community. And they said 500. Do 500. And we were like, and so we're like going, nah, jokes. But it was organising around the space. And we had letter drop-offs. We had all these people. They did, and they smashed our social media. They were man, they had followings. Anyway, cut the story short, we vaccinated 1,400.
Yeah.
We
You
went
proved
and
them
beyond.
wrong, for sure.
And to be we proved it. And you know what? We didn't get the money because community wants things to happen, right?
Yes.
So, okako, ere whaakali. And, so we'd put funds into, I'm not going to mention the people, but the funds came after the vaccination. So, we're pulling out of our own pockets to make this happen.
Yeah.
We pulled out of our own pockets. So, I think it was about $6,000 that we spent on this one vaccination, out of our pockets. And, man, the results came.
Yeah.
And we were like, praise Jesus. But this is when you get Tupulanga involved. This is when you give them that space.
Yeah.
This is when you give them, okay, we'll be here as a mātua, as the old one, to whaukua,
Yeah.
but we'll give you the space.
Yeah.
Now, that's what needs to happen in terms of culture. We'll be there as cultural advisors, but allowing this, allowing it to evolve. I always say this, as a New Zealand-born Samoan, I mean, by the way, my other 8 siblings can't even speak Samoan the way that I can.
Yeah.
But I say that we're a culture in its own here in New Zealand, because you go back to Samoa, they're like, you have a valukailongale. It's like, go skin that pig. I'm like,
Yeah.
And they go, you're not Samoan. You come back to New Zealand, it's like, then what are you?
Yeah.
Hey. But anyway, sorry, getting off topic. But yeah, that's just probably, hopefully I've answered your question in terms of...
Honestly, just listening to that, I'm getting emotional.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful story. And this is why I love my job, because I get to hear these stories and get paid for it, which is awesome. But I honestly give it up to you both. You guys are doing such amazing work.
Yeah.
True sign of leadership is to give sovereignty, that work back to the youth. And I notice a lot of young people, like I myself, I don't like being micromanaged. And
I do
not like being micromanaged. And also, I don't like telling people what to do.
Yes.
Like, you give the overall task, this is what we need to achieve, and then you trust them. You give them that love and that love, and you're like, I trust you guys. Sorry, guys. I trust that you can accomplish this.
Yes.
And I believe in your work. I believe in your hard work. Let's see what we can work with 2 weeks from now. But if someone's there saying, it's so annoying.
It's switch off mode.
Yeah, it's switch off.
I switch off.
Yeah.
It's because it's a directive from one person
Yeah.
or maybe a
Exactly.
collective of a few. But it can't. The topic, as you've said, Hana, is this is the what. We entrust you to achieve that what and the goal, and we'll leave you to it.
Yeah, which I think is a perfect embodiment of leadership.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing it, and I'm so
I know.
happy you shared that experience with us. I couldn't imagine being in a Zoom with 5 hours.
Yeah.
I'd just pretend my camera's frozen and I'd just be like,
Let's go to
Background.
and then just drop to the floor.
honestly, I remember that. I do
Yeah.
remember that first time. And honestly, I remember just the emotions around the community at the time. They're never going to be able to pull this off without the funding. And, and I remember the talks. They only have to meet 500. They're not going to meet 500 in this short amount of time.
Right.
Leaders like, yourself and Benina, Asiata and Benina, they executed it very well with the tupulanga, and the tupulanga were amazing, and the tupulanga kept driving each drive,
event.
and it was just, every single event was just kept, they kept bringing in the numbers that these massive, organizations at the top that were getting big, like they were getting millions, couldn't even bring. And then a small community who just have had a different, direction and passion. Man, you guys were so driven. I remember being, we've, attended so many of those Vax drives. They funded themselves. So, massive congratulations.
And
to you,
I'm
'cause it's
so
not
happy
easy.
because you guys were catching so much heat. They were like, oh, look at these islanders taking all this money for their Vax drives. Just to find out you guys were driving it out of your own pockets is, bruh.
Yeah.
One News, TVNZ, you guys have some explaining to do.
It just encapsulates also what Ryan's quote was all about, serving and not expecting any praise with it.
Right.
And that's what it's about. Unfortunately, hey, we could have had all of the media coverage and everything else connected with the great works that Gadiel and Benina done right from the beginning of all of the Samoa Tupulanga Tutuwhatasi. But hey, look, the work has been done and it continues to go, and it is a movement, and it's a movement and a plight for all our people to remain connected.
Right.
This is another platform that has proven and that people, grassroots within the community, can fulfill la mea, can resolve the issues. So that's why we're actually campaigning and wanting to be elected in these two seats.
And could we get you guys to show your shirts on the camera, please?
Oh,
Take off that. So
Rachel Hunter.
you guys are supporting F Festival for Mayor. Awesome. He's been into our Bluwave office as well. Is there anything you guys want to say in regards to the F Festival for Mayor campaign?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to start off, Sam, because look, I actually was born in Otara. And on Preston Road, and Efeso's family actually lived across the road from us.
Oh.
Right. Yeah.
Efeso's mum's from the same village as my dad as well, and his mother worked as a cleaner with my mum at Middlemore Hospital.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And actually, like, knowing a person, like, because there's a lot of negative stuff out there, to be honest, about Efeso.
Yeah.
And no doubt there'll probably be, but it's, anyone in leadership roles, there's always a negative side,
Absolutely.
But there's always that, but it's people that don't know you.
Yeah.
That often talk about you. But I believe in everything that he does because he has a heart. He's from here. When he speaks, he's speaking from a genuine place, like, of truth. Why? Because we've lived the struggle, bro. Like, our mothers were cleaners, for goodness sakes. His dad was a taxi driver. So we know the struggle. You can't talk about change something if you haven't even been through it. You can think you've been through that community. Yeah. And one of his big policies that I really do believe in, and people think they mock it, like, it's like something, but his the bus thing, free transport, like, Bro, like, there's so many of our workers, and I'm a unionist, for goodness sakes. I know a lot of people that have to catch their buses into town. You count that and every day, and that equates to something that you could actually spend that money into buying bread,
Yeah.
you know, for your kids.
And public transport is not cheap.
It's
No,
not cheap.
it's not.
It's not cheap. So, you know, I back Efeso 100%. You know, he's a person that shows up. You know, he's a person that will go. You know, I mean, there are a couple of campaign launches or whatever that he was the only one that turned up, like, because everyone else didn't want to turn up. So he's not afraid to test the waters, even his own party that he's actually questioned at times. But, you know, I'm not going to that. Not Dungeon and Stab. That's another episode. But he's not scared to test the waters, to push the boundaries. And because, you know, if you're in a chair of privilege, that's what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
Why? It's because it's our people.
Yes.
You know, it's people that get affected from it. So, yeah. That's why, you know, why me, Sango, we want to take our Pacifica voice to that middle of that table. You know, we want to rep.
Yeah.
Just like Efeso is doing up at that level. By the way, you know, Efeso 2 years ago, he came to a whono, a union whono that I was, man, I hope you're watching Efeso. Yeah, you better be watching this. So he came to a whono that, you know, I was cheering 2 years ago, and it was a Komiti Pacifica E2 union whono, and he came, and man, like, he was talking about leadership, like trying to inspire leaders to be really good leaders. And he goes, you know, we have to be in those chairs of, you know, of influence to change. And then I turned around and I was like, okay, you're going to eat your words, because I'm going to challenge you to be the mayor.
Wow.
You know, you want to challenge us, I'm going to chuck it right back at you. And then he said to me, okay, and then he turned around and he goes, well, I'm going to challenge you to be the president of this union. I said, all good, we'll see. And hello, 2022. I'm already there.
Oh
so
my
if
gosh.
you're watching, I'm going to see you there, brother. Like,
Wow.
you know.
No, that's such a beautiful story. I'm like amazed at how this has happened. You know, no one really knows what you're talking about in regards to the experience itself. But now that you're telling us, like, these are happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yes.
As these
absolutely.
encouraging conversations, hyping each other up. And you guys like sound like brothers.
You know, growing in leadership, it's not about you. It's about the journey, but it's about taking people along the
people with
journey.
you.
Honestly, I'm sick and tired of because honestly, you know, I'm sick of that. I'm over that. I'm over that. You know, people will climb a ladder, grease the ladder, wipe the way, so the next person just always slides down the ladder. I'm not about that life. You know, it's about journeying with people. You know, because it is about the relationship. You know, because, you know, after the journey, you'll be happy enough to pass it on to the next person.
Absolutely.
And journey on
That is
into
not a
spaces.
career. Look, Efeso, he's the only choice. And I will always be promoting him exactly that way. He's the only choice, not only for our Pacifica, but for all of Auckland. He's progressive, he's bold, he's brave, and he challenges everything for the betterment of everybody. But in particular, because he knows the struggle, he understands the struggle, he's lived the struggle, and he understands all of us, like, because we are still living in that struggle, firstborn, secondborn, thirdborn generations here in New Zealand. We're still facing the same struggles that our forefathers paved the way, and all our migrant parents and grandparents that came here to New Zealand. He understands our stories because he has the same story as us. But what I absolutely love about Efeso, as Gadiel has said, he's a doer. So he doesn't just say stuff, he will be there. He has been at so many mural campaign debates by himself. He has shown up. He turns up and wears the other lot. Not only that, look, right from day one, he comes from a small village himself, and there's nothing more heartening when you see Asalemo and both of his daughters actually supporting his journey, his campaign. At the end of every single event, it's always his daughters that come and do the kawalunga at the end. You know, he's still very entrenched in his roots because he is Samoan and he's proud to be Samoan. You know, you see his wife there, you see his parents there, you see his brothers there, you see his wife's family there. I mean, look, we all come from our own villages, but we're not like other ethnic communities where it's one person that's standing and it's that one person that goes alone. You know, and that's what I employ our Samoan community, our Pacific community, to actually understand that we need to be voting for the only option, the only real choice that will do and benefit our people, and that is Efeso.
Amazing. Efeso, I hope you were watching that.
Yeah, I
Sorry, you
know.
can pay me later.
When you get there, brother.
Let's go.
I want to know how much is going to be injected into that.
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
pretty good.
No, that was so amazing. And honestly, we've had so many conversations
know.
about the different generations of Samoa, but like your guys' generation, you guys hold a very valuable key connecting our elderly with, they're not young. With
I can't eat beer.
You guys hold a very important key because you guys are like the translators, you know? And I'm so happy that you guys are on the show today. Thank you for emphasizing that the key to getting our youth engaged, to feel connected, to find a sense of belonging is by giving them sovereignty and give them more responsibility so that they can make change in their communities. Thank you for sharing so much wealth, so much knowledge on our show, sharing your experiences. I'm pretty sure are very personal experiences, but you were able to share with us this morning. And this is not the last time we want you on the show, for sure. We'll be booking another episodes.
Yeah.
So Gadiel, get your diary out. We can we can get a few things off your chest. But is there any last words you guys wanted to say before we wrap this up?
Thank you for just allowing us to have this space. Like, you know, yeah, like, thank you. Like, you know, without getting emotional. Because, like, you know, because, like, honestly, seeing you guys, like seeing you guys in this space as well, I'm proud of you guys too. Like, even for providing this platform. But, like, I just wanted to end up with a little Bible story because, you know, because you've said something really key about us and, you know, where we are right now. And it takes me back to the story of Moses, you know, and, you know, God appointed Moses to take his people to the promised land, but, you know, he didn't quite get there. You know, he had to pass the baton on to Joshua. And I feel that we're actually at that point where we're actually trying to pass the baton on. We're just only there in the journey just to open it up. But, you know, I see our next generation actually, man, thriving for our people here in Aotearoa, like, you know, we've earned our way. You know, our parents paved the way coming here, but, you know, we've earned our way, like, you know, in society here in New Zealand. We are very much New Zealand, you know, but, you know, just thank you once again. You know, thank you to Anai as well. You know, and this beautiful space, this is such a beautiful space, honestly, and just for allowing us to be here. Yeah, that's my final words. Just hand over to you, Sango.
Yeah, look, again, just honestly repeating what Gadiel said, we feel very, very honoured, very blessed, and without getting emotional, really proud of all three of you. For giving us this space and for paving the way for all of our kupulanga, all our youth to see, look, you want to make change and you need to create change. You need to be part of that movement and part of different groups that actually can influence the change. And the three of you as the leaders, not only leaders, but there's also Kalawhaya Martin. Also, yes, but in this youth space around this table, and I just really am appreciative and very, very grateful. Who am I? Who are we? To be sitting here on a Friday morning having this talanoa with you. So very, very grateful indeed. But look, our youth, once they realise and once they click that they have the power for everything. You are the leaders of today. Look at what you three are doing already. And so generate and multiply that in the masses. The world is yours. The world is yours. So continue doing what you're doing. We absolutely love this show. So thank you so much for allowing us this space. Feel very safe and very comfortable.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to give it to our host as well to say some final words.
Oh, look, you know, we've seen the work. We've seen the results that you have, you know, in the community. Not only just the COVID response, you've inspired me every single time I meet you guys. There's always something, and you know, you've planted a seed in every single path that you've got, and I know that it's going to flourish. And I don't want to cry. I have to stop crying. I thought that's how we started like this.
Don't be the baby. Don't be
I've seen the fruits of the seeds that you've planted. The fruits have flourished, and I cannot wait for you guys to be the future leaders of Manurewa. And who knows, maybe we'll be like in the next few years, we'll be voting for mayor for you both.
Asiata for me.
Asiata for mayor, Sanga for mayor.
Move
So
along
that's a
if you're so
challenge.
sorry, guys.
Asiata for Prime Minister. I'm challenging you.
But seriously, thank you so much for the heart, the passion that you pour out into our communities to help pave the way for the future of our Pacific community. Love you.
Oh, we
God
love
bless
you. We love you.
Thank you. Awesome. And we'll just hand it over to Ryan.
Yeah, so I've been silent this whole thing because I've just been slack-jawed listening to the passion that's coming through and like the hope that comes with every word that you guys are saying. And I'm really looking forward to the radical change that you guys bring to the local council, and then hopefully that'll inspire everyone else to take that on to other fights, to other places that we need a lot more representation on. And like, ooh, now I'm getting emotional. It's not good.
Not good.
No, but I really look forward to seeing like the damage that you guys can do when you get in. So I wish I lived in Manurewa to vote for you guys.
Oh, thank you. You can tell all your famous to vote for us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. We hope you guys have a beautiful day. We hope this conversation has been encouraging and lifted up your spirits a bit as you guys continue to do the hard work, door knocking and sending out those pamphlets. But we'll see you on the show again. Thank you to all our viewers for coming in.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good
morning.
Time passes by and still you're on my mind. I can't imagine living my life without you, girl. The special moment you and I can only share will always keep us together and never apart. You're my Elena. You're so beautiful. God knows I love you. You're all I need, Elena. Take my breath away.